Hey everyone, I was watching Jason Forrest's channel last night, and he happened to come across the same article that I have about Hurricane Sandy, and I want to go ahead and read this to you. And this is very interesting. This is from Reddit.com. I'll put it below. This was submitted 27 days ago, or October 5th, 2012. Now let's get to what it says. Hearsay about the East Coast. About 2 weeks ago, my mom called me to see if I had a bug-out plan, which is interesting because we have never talked about anything like this. We have discussed politics, religion, and various other issues, but nothing along the lines of what do we do if the shit hits the fan. Her reasoning behind this is that her best friend of 37 years called her and said that her daughter and son-in-law were called into a private meeting on base regarding a probable evacuation scenario of the East Coast. Son-in-law is in the Special Forces, apparently high up. I think the base was Fort McPherson in Georgia. From what she said, the daughter and son-in-law were brought in and made to sign a non-disclosure agreement saying they would tell no one under the penalty of treason, what they were told during the meeting. They were told that in 4 to 6 weeks, this was around September 20th, the East Coast would experience some type of disaster that would cause it to be underwater. They were also told to make a go bag and be prepared to leave at a moment's notice. September 20th, these people were supposedly told that in 4 to 6 weeks, the East Coast would be underwater due to a disaster. I find that very interesting. So is this luck? Is this just coincidence? Were the military or the government able to see so 4 or 6 weeks in the future and see there was going to be this happening? There's going to be a storm brewing. Or is there such of a thing called HAARP that created this storm, and they're using this Hurricane Sandy as either a distraction from Benghazi Gate, reason to blame for voter fraud to cause riots, to cancel the elections period? I don't know. But for those, for my harpers out there, I don't know if you guys have seen this before, but I didn't come across it. Like I said, Jason Ford mentioned this in his video. I never heard of this, so I want to say thanks to him, and I happened to look it up for myself. He posted a link below. This is from the Department of Defense. This is their website. Now I'm about to read you a little segment from a transcript that took place with our Department of Defense, William S. Cohen, in 1997. We'll get to that in just a second. So let me read it to you about where he was, what's going on here. Cohen's keynote address, Secretary of Defense Cohen's keynote address at the Conference on Terrorism, Weapons of Mass Destruction, and U.S. Strategy at the Georgia Center, Mahler Auditorium, at the University of Georgia, Athens, Georgia. The event is part of the Sam Nunn Policy Forum being hosted by the University of Georgia. Secretary Cohen is joined by Senator Sam Nunn and Sen. Richard Lugar. And they talk about some things, all this kind of based like what it just said. But I want to point out something he said that was very, very interesting. We'll start right here. And I'll put this link below. Like I said, there are some reports, for example, that some countries have been trying to construct something like an Ebola virus, and that would be a very dangerous phenomenon, to say the least. Alvin Toffler, now I looked up this guy because I never heard of him. He is like a social scientist, a futurologist, if you will. He is considered the third most influential person in business or something along those lines. He is behind Bill Gates and another guy. And also, this man is credited, he's an author, he's a supposedly brilliant man. He's also credited with shaping modern-day China. So this man helped shape a country that is about to and is on track to pass the United States as a superpower. So this man apparently is a very prestigious, brilliant scientist who knows exactly what he's talking about. Now let's get into what Alvin Toffler supposedly said, if I'm saying his name right. Alvin Toffler has written about this in terms of some scientists in their laboratories trying to devise certain types of pathogens that would be ethnic specific so they could just eliminate certain ethnic groups and races. I've heard of something like that before. And others are designing some sort of engineering, some sort of insects that can destroy specific crops. I've also heard of that happening. Others are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes and volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So our Secretary of Defense at a weapons of mass destruction meeting happened to bring up that someone is writing, and there are reports of civil or scientists, cultures, enemies, what do you want to call them, doing such things. So, do you think that if there are other people, like as he said, that have this kind of technology and the United States knows about it, that the United States does not have this technology as well, that obviously exists? Because, you know, this is why I can't, I'm just a nobody from Illinois. I can't just off the top of my head, as crazy as it does seem that they can control the weather, I just can't say, well, that's stupid, that could never happen. When there is our Secretary of Defense, saying that a brilliant man is saying and is writing about people who are setting off earthquakes and volcanoes using electromagnetic waves. And also, let me show you this. Like I said, this happened in April 28th of 1997. What happened in October of 1997? Well, there was a drill conducted of a hurricane Sandy. It was based off a 1938 hurricane that was really devastating to the East Coast. And in 1997, in October of 1997, they happened to hold a drill for a hurricane that would be just as devastating, if not as devastating, as the 1938 hurricane, and call it Sandy. How interesting is that? I can't chalk this all up to coincidence. I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't do it anymore. And also, just because look, I want to show you this too. Just because I don't think this is coincidence. I was watching stuff on Halloween, the 31st, and I want to show you this real quick. See how many times you can count this in here. And you're going to say, what are you talking about, Tony? Well, just let me show you. See how many times you can count it. Oh. Huh. A lot of times in there, huh? Now, I don't think it's coincidence that triangle or pyramid with a circle in it or a pyramid with an eye is coincidence that thing happens to be on the Paranormal 4 activity trailer, on a movie trailer. I don't find it just a coincidence that the same thing is listed as a little extra ability on Call of Duty. I don't think that pyramid with an eye is just coincidence that it also was seen at the Super Bowl. I don't think it's coincidence that the pyramid with an eye is what we see on the back of our dollar bill. I don't think it's just coincidence that the pyramid with an eye is also a logo for such companies as American Online. I don't think it's coincidence. I can't call it coincidence anymore. So, nope. Same thing and all sorts of different things obviously means something. We all know what that means. Just my opinion. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'll put the links below for the Reddit article and the government transcript. So thank you all for watching. Thank you to all my subscribers for keeping me going. Love you all. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.